Alright, next we will discuss the 6th unit of Introduction to School of Zhendao. We all know that Diamond Sutra is a classic known among all households. Many people are familiar with it. They have been studying Diamond Sutra for more than 1,000 years. They recite it, they praise it. Countless people have earned attainment on this scripture. It has a profound influence on Chinese culture. Its greatest achievement is that it transcends the boundary of religions. Many scholars with different religions are reading Diamond Sutra and have accepted it. Therefore, Diamond Sutra is a classic scripture of great wisdom that transcends religions. We the mortals may have difference in terms of intellects, and may live a happy life or difficult life. However, people in the world, regardless of wealth, status, age, or gender, according to Diamond Sutra, our own minds and true entities are created equal. It does not concern life or destruction, and it remains constant, without any change. It is clever, brilliant, refined, with infinite span. All people are created equal. People share the same mind and the same philosophy. That is why our minds, in Diamond Sutra, we are equal, and equal is identical. Diamond Sutra says people's minds are all equal. Their nature and shape are harmonic and are compatible. Their reason pattern is unified. It offers wonderful explanation about differences between emptiness and existence. Therefore, our own nature is constantly lonely but equal. People have differences in looks. They are born and they die eventually. But Diamond Sutra tells us that there is an equal main body that does not concern life and destruction. Hidden within such differences, life and destruction, Diamond Sutra tells us that we must return to our non-life, non-destruction main body. We must be adaptive and refrain from obsession so we may own our own minds in our daily life. The non-obsession is teaching us that we must realize the birth and destruction of all phenomena. Accept all phenomena without being obsessed with these phenomena. Your mind will be doubt-free. This is so-called free of obsession. And the mind shall appear. It is teaching us that without obsession, our minds will be set free. We have high wisdom. We actively act in kindness in this mortal world, so we may live a happy life. This is a positive life, a happy life. Therefore, non-obsession is about emptiness, and our minds will appear and prevail. Emptiness and existence are present at the same time. They are the same thing. This is the factual phenomena of the way of neutrality. It is the true meaning of Diamond Sutra. That's its spirit. Therefore, Diamond Sutra tells us, alienate form phenomenon and there will be no obsession. It teaches us to have mind is to act in kindness. This is to keep emptiness in mind when in existence, and vice versa. It's really incredible. It's very practical. Not fairy tale. So, the perfect way of neutrality and factual phenomenon in Diamond Sutra. The way of neutrality between the existence and emptiness. We are still able to forego phenomenon and ideas, untainted. Deep in the inner mind of such practitioners, must be filled with peace, and must be filled with purity, filled with kindness and wisdom. They can directly achieve the destiny of the greatest wisdom, which is our own minds and true entities. All merits are perfected and recognized. Your merits will all be perfectly recognized. Eventually, your recognized merits will help you to attain the final true Tao and harvest the infinite light of the nature of self. We shall be saved from all sufferings and receive eternal easiness. Okay, next, let's talk about Laotzi's Daodejing. The content of Laotzi's Daodejing is so omnipotent and all-inclusive. It is the general summary and foundation of philosophy and thinking. The purpose of Daodejing concerns two words, Dao and De, these two words. It's the purpose of Daodejing. Dao, or the way, is the vehicle of virtue, while virtue is the utility of the way. In other words, Dao and virtue are mutual, complementary. Therefore, Dao, or the way as referred to by Laotzi, which is what we have mentioned in the literature of truth in School of Zhendao, means it is the only truth that exists since the infinity and beyond the universe at its chaotic stage before the Genesis. Therefore, at the beginning of Dao De Jing, Laotzi has already said that Dao, or the way, is our own minds and true entities. It generally includes the height of the main body and the factual phenomena. Therefore, the true Dao, or Zhendao, of our own minds and true entities are the genesis of the universe and the origin of both the heaven and earth. It is the root and pivot point of all matters. That means, in Laotzi's Dao De Jing, the first words are, Dao, the way, is attainable, but the way to attainment never remains unchanged. The first mentioning of Dao is our own minds and true entities, is also what Diamond Sutra refers to as the self-nature has no idea initiated in the beginning. It is the untainted self-nature. When you have not initiated any idea, that is the first Dao that Laotzi is talking about. An attainable Dao, as mentioned in Diamond Sutra, means that upon your initiation of ideas, your true and empty mind will be filled with delusional ideas. Such ideas will become subject of life and destruction. We all know that ideas will appear and disappear. In this world, where ideas change and appear, all are subject to life and destruction. It originates from our delusional ideas. Therefore, Laotzi refers to this initiated delusional ideas as an ever-changing way, Dao, simple and straightforward. Therefore, these three classics, from the previous lectures to this one, we have all briefly introduced to let you all have a basic concept to begin with. These three classics share the same root and elements. These three classics are of one cognate entity. In future explanation, these truths will be revealed to you with more details, as we have just mentioned, to let you all fully understand. Only through full understanding may you apply what you have learned in practice to truly apply your learnings in your life to the fullest, to bring happiness to your life, to bring infinite light to your net life. That is the meaning of this lecture. The only way to find the factual phenomena of the true Tao is going through these three classic scriptures. We know that Tao, as Laotzi refers to in Dao De Jing, is the main body as referred to in Diamond Sutra, and the constant in I Ching. It is shapeless, formless, colorless, and odorless. But it is omnipresent and all-inclusive. It exists at all times and all places. It saturates the universe in all spectrums. It does not increase nor decrease. It is not colored. It is not empty. It exists permanently. It is like the earth where we live. It is filled with oxygen. Everywhere we go, there is oxygen. But you can't see it. You can't feel it. If you don't try to feel it purposefully, you'll not feel it. But oxygen to us, the human, is the most important element of life. We all know that if we are denied oxygen for 3 to 5 minutes, we will die physically. But is oxygen filled everywhere in the universe? No, it is not. Let's look at space science now. At a certain altitude, oxygen level decreases. It seems nothing is there. But at a certain altitude, oxygen will disappear. Like when flying in an airplane at 12,000 meters high. The airplane is still supported by lift even at that altitude. But the percentage of oxygen has fallen below critical level. The pressure gap between inside and outside becomes greater. The higher it goes, of course, the oxygen level decreases further. When we look at that blue sky, it's a sky where oxygen does not necessarily exist. But what we're talking about here, Tao, it is the entity of soul within every one of us. You can actually excavate it, but don't block it with your ideas. It is infinite emptiness and omnipresent in the domain of Dharma. It is everywhere. It is omnipresent. Like what we are talking about here. That is what makes it so incredible. This is what we are going to tell the people in the world in this lecture. Therefore, in Jing-06, it says, the great Tao is shapeless, but it shapes the world. The great Tao is not emotionally attached to anything, even to the sun, even to the moon. The great Tao is anonymous, but it nurtures all matters. Not knowing the nameless, I call it out of convenience as Tao. That is what the saint has told us. The true phenomena is nameless and shapeless. Diamond Sutra says initiation of ideas is deviation, but nonetheless, as the mortal custom mandates, it needs a name for our convenience to explain about it. That, of course, is the most confusing part, which will be discussed in the future. It will be explained to you in detail. So far, the three classics we have covered, from infinity, Uchi, to Taichi. Tao exists, therefore the heaven and earth exist, hence people and all matters are given birth. Therefore, Tao is the main pivot switch for all matters in the universe. It is the general predecessor to all merits, in individual, state, and world levels. Tao is about doing nothing, but let nature have its own way. It is neutral way and factual phenomenon, or simply put, Tao. Virtue is the utility of Tao. That also means compliance with Tao is a mandate. Therefore, virtue is the external exhibition of the nature of Tao. A person who really understands the true philosophy deep in his or her heart, he or she will be able to integrate and apply the true philosophy of Tao. His external behaviors will show that he is a person of virtue. Therefore, it is the external exhibition of the nature of Tao. The heaven, the earth, the people, and all matters are all vehicles of virtue that comply with Tao. In the future, the literature of True will provide in-depth explanation. From the heaven and above, the earth and below, people in between, to all matters, all carry the virtue of Tao. Therefore, life, the universe, all matters, contains the virtue of Tao. Virtue is the extreme condensation of all matters in the world. Where there is virtue, life exists. Where virtue is absent, life vanishes. If you are lacking of virtue, you are of no utility. An entity without utility, of course. Death is inevitable without virtue. Therefore, modern people don't have enough virtue. As we can see, many people today are living suffering lives. He doesn't have the understanding about this true philosophy. He has no idea about where to find his mind and soul. Where may his spirit go? There is no sign for him. Therefore, speaking of which, where there is virtue, life exists. Where virtue is absent, life vanishes. It is the laws that permanently dominate nature. Virtue is the ladder that leads to the entrance into Tao. To enter into Tao, the 5 virtues of benevolence, justice, rights, wisdom, and honesty are required. Therefore, this is the basic. With all of the 5 virtues, one will be qualified and naturally will be compatible with Tao. Therefore, Tao is a vehicle for virtue, act for none, and no act is denied. People of the world are denied of wisdom and thus blinded in foolishness. They fail to perfect their minds and practice the virtues. Therefore, they can't enter into Tao. Therefore, it is difficult for people to learn the subtle benefits of high virtues required for Tao. The most important thing for practicing Tao is self-reflection on the mind and obtain awareness. It is called reflection and awareness for short. Diamond Sutra has very high regard for this. Use the great wisdom of self-nature to begin with reflection and awareness. Such wise reflection and awareness can fight delusion and find truth. It will subdue our delusional minds. And naturally, we will be able to find our true minds. This is the harmony and adaptation of the way of neutrality. As we know, study and learn from the books of the sages and the virtuous. In the future, we must guide everyone to fulfill, to practice our learnings. And eventually, we will all have the quality of the true philosophy. With these virtues, use your virtues. Naturally, we will attain the true Tao. Alright, this unit will end here. Thank you all. Wish you all happiness and joy.